introduce and all that. Okay, hey, good evening, everyone. It's Naijha Wright Brown, co-owner of the Land of Kush Vegan Soul Bistro in Baltimore and executive director of the Black Veg Society. And I have Eloísa here.
Hi, everyone.
Chili on Wheels.
Chili's on Wheels. And Hip Hop is Green and the co-founder of Vegan Activist Alliance.
Yes. So we're here. We're advocating for this call-in day, Wednesday, September 22nd. As you can see, this article here by Green Biz, how school food can serve a climate solution. So a new bill is aiming to fund plant-based entree options for students that are healthier and more climate friendly. And that is what we're both here to talk about today. So Eloísa, I was already on here yesterday talking to folks about this number that they need to call on Wednesday. So I did the call to action. I said, we got to be on here Wednesday, 833-394-7290, asking our member of Congress to support the Healthy Future Students in Earth Act. Bill HR 4108. What do you have for us? You attended a meeting and with the USDA. What's going on?
Yeah, so today the coalition attended a meeting with the USDA, and what I have back from the meeting is to say that we need each and every one of you to pressure Congress to really support us in providing plant-based foods in schools. So for the folks who are out there, the USDA has tremendous control over our food system, including school food. So one of the challenges that are faced by school districts across the country is to meet the dietary guidelines that are set by the USDA. So, for us, we look at plants as having protein, right? The USDA may say, hey, you need this much per pound to actually show that there's protein here. And so what happens is that it is not done in the same way as animal-based protein. And so it renders the food inedible. So if you're going to have, let's say, quinoa along with vegetables, that quinoa, even though it is full of protein, will not qualify as a protein full food. And so with this pilot program,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, so a lot of our meeting today, the conversation was about protein. The conversation was about how to change the language. One of the other things that they focus a lot on is food that is recognizable to kids. And so one of the things that they say is, well, kids have to be able to recognize the food that they're eating. And so that's one of the reasons why we don't have more plant-based foods in schools. However, chicken nuggets don't look like chicken, right? The cheese on the pizza doesn't look like the cow that it comes from, and so on. And so, when we question them and say, how do you research whether or not children recognize the food that they're serving them? They don't have an answer. And so these are decisions that are being made by policymakers. These are decisions that are being made by people who are not necessarily on the ground, who are not working directly with school children. In my experience with school children, a lot of the times these kids do not want to eat the school food. They'd rather go hungry throughout the entire day than actually eat the food. A lot of the students may be plant-based, maybe vegan, maybe vegetarian for all different reasons. The youth now is very much about climate change and about mitigating climate change and using the dietary choices in order to do so. We have a lot of folks who are vegan. The African-American population is the highest growing vegan demographic in the country. We also have a history of injustice when it comes to food for Black, Indigenous, and people of the global majority. And so when
we're being forced to drink milk, right? That's another issue.
We're forced to drink milk and so on. And we have such a diverse student body across the country, and we have to meet the needs of those students. So whether that student is vegan for the animals, whether they're vegan because of the climate, whether they're, vegan or plant-based because of their religion, if we are saying, hey, this is a country that really accepts everyone, then we have to show our students that those dietary needs are going to be met. And so what we're asking on September 22nd is for the folks who are out there, for the students who are out there, to make videos of themselves just saying, this is why I support plant-based foods in schools. Now, you don't have to be vegan. You don't have to be plant-based to call in. You don't have to be vegan or plant-based to make a video. But we are encouraging the students to do so. And the parents can write to their legislators and say, I have a child in school. I work 2 jobs. I don't necessarily have the time to prepare a meal 5 days a week, which is one of the challenges for parents as well. A lot of the other issues that come with plant-based school food is that the people who work in making the food in schools may not have the equipment to make the food. They also may not be trained in it. And we're asking Congress, we're asking the USDA to provide that type of education, right? And within this grant funding, then they would be able to do so. And so it's a pilot program, so schools would have to apply for it. However, it would provide the funding. As everyone knows, school districts across the country need more funding than they probably have. And the USDA has a lot of restrictions on how we, distribute what we call school food.
And I'm showing the press release from Congresswoman Nadia and Velasquez about introducing legislation to provide plant-based entrees in school. So everyone knows what we're talking about, that we just didn't fabricate this. This is actually why we're asking people to call this number on Wednesday, 833-394-7290, to tell the members of Congress in their area to support this Healthy Future Students and Earth Act. This is where it's coming from. And Eloísa, I have this for the students about the video challenge, and I'm going to put the website, friendsoftheearth.org, for the toolkit, so they know where to go to get this information. So I'm going to post that as you continue to speak about what's going on.
And so one interesting thing about the legislation that Legislator Velasquez introduced is that it came out of kids asking for not vegetarian options, but fully plant-based options, because the vegetarian options were too dairy heavy. So one of the things that happens as well is, because of USDA requirements, when you have a plant-based meal, the protein requirements will then ask you to add more cheese, right? And so they just load up this food with cheese, and the kids were like, we can't eat this. This is not what we meant by plant-based. Like, this is great that we have meatless Mondays, but you know what? My needs are still not being met. I need plant-based food. I need fully vegan, fully plant-based food. And so this came out actually from students in New York saying that their needs were still not being met by the food that was being served. The legislation was introduced in June of this year. I think now we're up to about 16 co-sponsors. The legislation is in the House. And so the more that you speak to your legislators, to your representatives, to your senators, the more it's going to help us. We're trying to get to at least 100 representatives to support the bill by the end of the year.
Where do you think we're going to get it? Are we confident
I think
that we're going to get it?
But not by the end of the year, but within a year. So policy in law is very slow. It's not a quick change. However, right now, we're seeing a lot of talk about climate change. And, one of the things that came out of this bill, or that was attributed to us, is how, as in the article, how school food can really help mitigate climate change. I mean, we serve an enormous amount of food. We have a large student body throughout the country. There will be so many animals saved if we just transition at least one meal in the school to be plant-based. And so that's why we're saying, hey, school food is a way where we have the opportunity to support our kids who are already plant-based or who are leaning towards plant-based, provide the education as well for these kids that are coming in, that are learning, that are new. We need to teach our children how to eat healthy. We're always saying eat vegetables, but then when they want to eat fully plant-based, we're saying, oh no, that's weird. Okay.
Right. Exactly. Simon says this is exciting. Yes, Simon, we're hoping that you're going to call in or have a child. If you have a child, make a video. So all that information is in the comments. I just posted the website. And thank you for the comment. It is very exciting, and we need everyone to call in.
Yes, absolutely. And make sure that even if you don't have kids or you don't know any kids, I'm sure we all know some kids, share it everywhere. We need to center the students. The students are really going to be the way for this legislation to pass. And if this legislation doesn't pass, it starts the conversation and more changes will come from it, because that's what we're hoping to do. We're hoping to really push to, in the entire fabric of Congress, that in order for us to mitigate climate change, we're going to have to do some dietary changes. And so I think we can all agree on that. Animal agriculture is not sustainable. Besides the fact that it hurts the animals, it hurts communities. Communities that live next to these factory farms get sick from the air pollution and the water pollution. And so, our kids are aware of it. I think youth nowadays, they have so much access to so much information, and they really feel empowered to speak up. And so we're there to support them.
Thank you for that. Is there anything else that you wanted to add about what's taking place?
And so beyond the calling day, we're hoping to do a national march, where we're going to march for plant-based food justice. And that's exactly what we want to bring attention to. And so while this is great and the calling is great, and it's extremely important because these messages are going to be presented to legislators. And so I just want to put that out there, that these messages will be heard. We're going to compile all of the messages and all of the videos as testimony to this for the legislators. And so look out for the march when we do it in the next few months. For everybody who supports a plant-based food system and a just transition to a plant-based food system, this is really going to be the first march of its kind that's going to ask specifically for this.
Is the march starting in New York and going somewhere? Or
we're still determining. So we might actually go to DC and march in front of the White House and say, this is what students are asking for. This is what is needed to meet the philosophical, the cultural, and the religious preferences of everyone.
Awesome. Now the Congress people, this is across the country.
This is across
every
the
single
country.
Member of Congress.
Exactly.
So the number 833-394-7290, everyone across the country, wherever you're looking, north, south, east, west, you pick up the phone Wednesday, 833-394-7290. You put your zip code in, ask your member of Congress to support this Healthy Future Students and Earth Act, HR 4108. And then again, for the students, I already put the toolkit information in there. I know this is small, but at least we know you prepare a video, write out why you support this plant-based school food bill. You record it 30 to 60 seconds, and then you post it on September 22nd. Okay. You add an end screen to your video, foe.org/n-screens, but everything is in the toolkit that I put in the comments. This is great. I'm so happy that we was able to get on because yesterday.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing, the hashtag climate friendly school food. So, and I want to really be clear about climate friendly school food. So what we're saying is not, we're going to feed our kids processed food. What we're saying is that we're going to strive for locally grown organic food as well. I think a lot of times people who work in food or perhaps are vegan, a lot of folks say, well, processed food may be vegan, but it's not healthy. So that's not what we're pushing for. This bill is definitely climate friendly. So less packaging, mostly local. And also it has the benefit of it is that historically marginalized farmers. So you're talking about your women farmers, you're talking about your indigenous farmers, your Black farmers, veteran farmers, all of these farmers who don't usually get the funding, the support, or the subsidies. And so, it's a broad bill in that sense, which some people, who are pro animal ag have spoken against about. But we took the opportunity to say, hey, if we're talking about plant-based, let's also talk about all of these other issues that affect, plant-based procurement.
Awesome. So this is a very, very, very important bill. Extremely important. This is going to help children now, in the future, the climate, everything that we need to address through plant-based diet. And it doesn't matter if you're about animal rights, the environment, health, global health, it's going to help all of that. And it's going to help, like you said, Black, indigenous farmers, marginalized people. So this is a no-brainer. It's a federal bill. It's going to be funded. So why not? It's a win-win. 833-394-7290. Put it in your calendar, everyone.
Yes.
You know, today's Monday. We don't want you to forget on Wednesday. Put it in your calendar, Wednesday. Put this number in, 833-394-7290. Healthy Future Students and Earth Act. Youth providers, anyone access to youth, the Healthy Future Students and Earth Act call-in day video challenge. Make the video, record it 30 to 60 seconds, and post it on September 22nd. The toolkit is in the comments, so you got everything that you need to get you going on that day. Anything else that you want to add before we...
Every platform, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, any platform that you use, it could be Twitter. And so whatever platform you feel the most comfortable in, share it there. Make sure you hashtag climate friendly school food. And, beyond that, call your representatives, write an email, write a letter, if you have the time, and ask them to support and co-sponsor this legislation. So it's 3 separate things, but we hope that you're able to do them, some of them on the 22nd, some of them later on. Without the support of the public, without the support of the students, no bills that are promoting plant-based foods, plant-based nutrition are going to pass. We are already facing a lot of challenges because the USDA poses so many restrictions in procurement and in how food is made and how food is given to the kids. Obviously, if you receive a meal that's full of just soybeans, and without certain things in it, it's not going to be as appetizing as, let's say, veggies with rice and some soybeans, right? And so those are such small things, but those small things actually keep us from serving plant-based school foods. And so we just ask everyone to please, take their activism and do a little bit for policy, because we need policy to change in order to mitigate climate crisis, to help the animals, and to help people transition into plant-based diets.
Thank you for that, Eloísa. Is there anything you want to talk about, your present work that you're doing with Chili's on Wheels before we go, or Hip Hop is Green?
Sure. So Hip Hop is Green, through Hip Hop is Green, I'm involved in this policy work. At Chili's on Wheels, we work to make veganism accessible to communities in need. We're still out there providing plant-based food relief and providing vegan education to folks. In Vegan Activist Alliance, we're doing activations, collaborations, educational outreach. And so speaking up for our fellow animals that are oppressed each and every day through a collective liberation lens. No one is free when others are oppressed. And this system is so complex that while it is very comforting to think of things through a black and white lens, it isn't necessarily the reality of how our fellow animals are going to be liberated.
Now put that in, no one is free when others are oppressed.
And that's not my quote. I don't know where it's from.
Okay. No, anonymous. Anonymous. So I put that in there. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We need to get a little bit more compassion and action, and stop the oppression, and liberate all beings. So I'm so glad that you was able to come on. How can people follow you? What is your tag?
So on Instagram, it's just Elogata. So it's ELOGATA. You can also follow Vegan Activist Alliance. That's just Vegan Activist Alliance, or Chili's on Wheels, as well as Hip Hop is Green. And so all of those organizations are vegan organizations that are also focused on animal rights. And so I think it's really interesting to see the different approaches the different organizations have, but always to remember that we're fighting a much bigger, and I don't like to use the word enemy, but a much bigger problem than the problems that we have within the vegan movement. And so I hope that we really start to understand that, because the time that we lose, whether it's infighting, whether it's debating whether or not somebody deserves to be free, when they're human, that's time that is lost, and that animal agriculture is coming up with yet another strategy to get people more hooked on animal bodies. And so
Exactly.
that's really something that I would like for all of us vegans, especially animal rights activists, to think about.
Exactly. I'm so glad that you touched on that. Stop the infighting.
Always.
Stop the black and white racial divide. Let's get to
Yes.
work, because we're
Let's get
still
to
in the
work.
minority
Yes.
as vegans, and we have a lot of work to do.
Yes,
So
let's call
definitely
each
appreciate
other
that.
in instead of calling each other out, and let's talk, let's communicate. Because when I tell you that I sit in these meetings and I'm still explaining protein, and these people are deciding what food looks like, whether or not animals are food, that's where we are. And so
Right.
we have a lot and a long way to go. We have a lot to fight and a long way to go.
Thanks again, Eloísa. It's
Thank
always
you,
a
Naijha.
pleasure to see you. Until we
too.
see each other again, be safe and take care. Sending blessings your way.
Thank you. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
Good night, everyone. When we put that number up again, 833, let me get this banner out of the way, 833-394-7290. Put it in your calendar. Call-in day, Wednesday, the 22nd. Support the Healthy Future Students and Earth Act, Bill HR 4108. Call your congressperson and tell them to support that bill. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.